One of the most valuable lessons I've learned over the past decade in real estate is how essential it is to learn from the industry professionals. That's why I'm gathering professionals from across the country to share their experiences with you. This is a Gregerson's podcast, where experience and passion come together in the world of real estate. I'm Casey Gregerson, your host, and I'm very excited you're tuning into today's episode. As always, if you have questions for me or any of our guests, please reach out to me at casey@gregersonproperties.com. Now let's get started with today's podcast.
All right, welcome in, guys. I want to introduce Devin Robinson to you guys. So Devin is a good friend of mine. We met through Collective Genius. And yeah, man, I've seen some of his presentations, got to know him pretty well. I think one of his big strengths, I'll call it definitely a superpower, is putting together teams, right? And he's able to put together virtual teams where like you can draw, and everybody talks about like implementing culture and just getting the team behind you and it's really just building a strong culture in virtually, right? And not many people do that. Devin's like really mastered that even from across the world. So I want to dive into that. But also Devin's even just like leveraging like technology and systems and automation. He's one of my go-to guys on that. And yeah, now he's starting to get into fundraising and raising funds, working with professional athletes. So a lot of fun and exciting stuff to get into today. But man, what I missed, Devin, what else you want to share about yourself, your background?
That's great. No, that's you said too much. So no, I'm thankful, man. I appreciate it. I'm just glad to be here to be able to talk about all of those things and to be able to kind of give anywhere that I can. So, and I know a lot of it will come and I'm excited to learn from you. And so a lot of it's just going to come in our banter back and forth. And so, yeah, that's me. We do, I guess one more thing is like, we just do a lot of foreclosure stuff. So, we learned from the GOAT, the legend, the foreclosure king, Michael Franke, which everybody else learned from. But we've kind of taken that and I think just in our market amplified it with virtual assistants. And it's insane, man. It's insane. Like, I would say we've got like 50 legitimate solid leads that we have a good chance of closing in the next 3 weeks because of like this flow that we've really dove into and kind of mastered. And so it's been really cool. And it comes a lot from the VAs. You just have to have good closers to be able to close them.
Man, what market are you in again, Devin?
Charlotte.
You're
in
the
Charlotte market, but like the foreclosure stuff, because it is state specific, it's not very county specific. We'll purchase properties in Greensboro in the Triad area, and then we'll purchase properties in Raleigh because it all comes from foreclosures. And with that, honestly, there's not a huge need because we get such deep discounts because there's such deep motivation. And one of my thought processes on all of that stuff is like, I'm not going to pull high equity absentee owner data and have cold callers call that data and get in arguments with people or people cussing at us because they don't want to sell their house for like the average 15K spread when we can go directly to the most intense motivation, which is foreclosures. Then we can spend all of our time doing that for spreads that average 30, 35K and up. And so we don't even dial regular data. And with those discounts, the deep of discounts we get, we can almost just make them an offer and we get it. And the offer, we never make a number offer. So it's never like, oh, $190,000 for your house. It's, hey, what do you need? Like, what is it that you need? Like if we were to give you $5,000 to $10,000, and we believe in people over profit. So like $5,000 to $10,000 is typically a start just to gauge their interest. If we can take care of the foreclosure, we can take care of all this stuff and give you $5,000 to $10,000 to start you in the next season of life. Would that be good for you? And if they're like, yeah, that's great, then we go, awesome. What we're going to do is we're going to find out exactly what's owed and then see if we can even help you a little bit more than that. And if not, then the $5,000 or $10,000 would be great. But we've kind of gauged that by knowing their equity. And then if they go, no, that's not enough, then we go, okay, tell us a little bit more about that. We know that we have to pay off the house. And because they're already in a very vulnerable, sensitive spot talking about a foreclosure, they're very open about talking about everything else. Tell us about that. Do you have some more debt that you need to pay off? Like, is there any more debt that needs to be paid off? Are you planning to move somewhere? Okay. So does $20,000 sound like it'd be a little bit more reasonable for you? Yeah, that sounds like that'd be great. Okay, awesome. Our plan is to make sure that we can get you that $20,000, and we'll be really clear if we can't. And the only thing that's dependent upon is actually finding out the exact number that you owe to the bank. And so then like we don't even need to give $190,000 offer, right? Like we're going based off of what they need, and then they tell us like, I mean, through that they reveal more motivation and then stuff like that. So like we get huge discounts by giving them what we need. We typically go above what they need to really help them out. But we have, this is the hard part. We have to work because like one of my lenders told me this, and I think it is true, but like you have to at least pay $50% of what the value of the house is on a foreclosure, or the seller can actually come back to you, file a complaint, come back after it and get their house back. So like we have to make sure we at least hit 50% of the value of the home because like because our discounts are so deep. So we can go all over the state and not really have to worry about going to the house because our discounts are so deep. So that's a long.
Well, hell yeah. I love you gave the tangible like ways to do it and like how the psychology and the negotiation, all the acquisitions. That's good stuff, Devin. How long have you been implementing the foreclosures in that process?
Master Frankie, he, the king of foreclosures, he was in my room in CG in June 2022. So then he gave that presentation. I spent the next 3 months building out the SOPs for it because I was like, this is amazing. This is gold. I built out all of the SOPs, got everything implemented. And then he gave the main talk to everybody in December, and everybody's like, yo, or in October, and everybody's like, yo, this is insane. All of this stuff. And so because we had already built out everything, process maps, SOBs, scripts, everything, TC, everything for it, began like from October to January, it really started picking up. And then like January and February, I like hyper refined our process and our system. And now it is like, oh my gosh, I need to hire more salespeople because I can't handle this. Like I literally cannot handle this. And so like, that's kind of where we are now. Granted, that does not mean we're making a ton of money because we still are like, we're at the beginning process of that. So I don't want anybody to hear this and think I'm driving around in a Lambo and doing all this stuff because like, no, we just figured it out. Now it's like, we've got it refined. We've actually got it pretty perfected. And now I'm just training my acquisitions team to nail it in because like there's such deep motivation that if you get them on a call, it's sold. Like I locked in 2 contracts on Friday. And then like, I think we're going to lock in like 5 this week just because of foreclosures, because like as soon as you get a hold of somebody, you got it. And so now I'm just trying to train my salespeople to be able to like lock that stuff in and understand the empathy side of it, because like you have to have hyper empathy. It's not about sales tactics. It's like very high EQ and an incredible amount of empathy. And so it's really cool because my VAs have that and they are crushing it. I get so many compliments from my VAs that like people will get on the phone with me and they'll just like, I loved talking to Adam. And Adam is Ehab. And we just call him like the foreclosure king in our group because he's like, he'll jump into a meeting. He's like, sorry, I'm late, guys. I was just nailing down another lead for us, because like he'll just sit there and people will cry with him. They'll talk to him for like 30 or 40 minutes. And he's a VA in Egypt and he's just got a huge amount of EQ. And it's really cool to like kind of watch them do their work. And then they just pass it to us. And it's like an alley-oop. It's just like a slam dunk because the motivation's so high. So I would say like that process was from June to now on like building out, refining, perfecting. That's kind of where we are.
Man, I want to go 2 different ways on there, but I'll pick one for now. We'll come back to like how you've built out that team and just your strength in building teams. We'll come back there, but I'm curious though, applying that, and this is a selfish question, applying that in smaller markets, right? So you're in North Carolina, evidently you're going statewide, seeing enough volume of foreclosures to where you could keep getting the leads. But I'm just curious how that would work in a small market or just the volume. Cause I'm just trying to think, in our markets are smaller ones. And when we pulled some of these lists, there just wasn't that many foreclosures, but I mean, it's probably a numbers game.
So it depends on how you're pulling the list. So in America, there are 3,000 foreclosures a day, like 3,000 foreclosures happening every single day in America. Across North Carolina, where we are, I would say that there's probably 15 to 30 across the whole state. So like, I can understand where if you're in Wyoming or Montana, that like you're not going to have a lot of that volume. So what we've done though is we've got a mixture between like deep skip tracing and just like relentlessness. Because at the end of the day, the motivation is so high that if you make contact with them, you win. Like there's no other, what are they going to say? No? Like, what are they going to say? I don't need your help. Actually, they do say, I don't need your help all the time. So when they go, oh, I don't need your help, I've got it. We go, oh, awesome. I'm so glad you've gotten it taken care of. It sounds like you've, were you able to pay off the arrears and keep your home? And then they're like, no, I'm talking to the bank. Oh, okay. Which option are you deciding on? And so essentially we're like, great, I'm so glad you're doing that. Let me tell you that you actually don't have it taken care of. And so, and a lot of times all you got to do is get a hold of people. So no matter what market you're in, honestly, if you can get a hold of 1 or 2 a month, that's it. The spreads are like 30 to 50K plus. That's an incredible amount of revenue in your company just for getting a hold of 2 people. And so, like we do that in a number of different ways. It's funny because I just created a TikTok and it goes, let me show you how I spent 17 cents and made $60,000. And so I don't have it out yet. It's going to be out there. And by the time it'll probably be out there. But what we did was like, we found out that the owner of this property had passed away. So everybody's trying to contact, they're doing their basic skip tracing. Everybody's trying to contact the owner. He's dead. You're not going to be able to get a hold of him. So like we do it like the deeper skip tracing. So we use like 2 services. We use like Skip Genie and Skip Matrix. Same shameless plug. If you use Skip Matrix, you can use Devin R for a cent off of your skip tracing. But we use Skip Matrix because Skip Matrix gives me their name, of course, like their name, their address, their phone numbers, if they're dead or not, if they went bankrupt, the last time they used that phone, those phone numbers, their IP address, then it gives me 4 relatives, and then it gives me the relatives' phone numbers, all of that stuff, and then it gives me 4 associates in the associates. So we like literally, for this one house, we went down, we got a hold of like a stepsister. The stepsister connected us to like her husband, and then the husband connected us to the daughter of the owner. And then the daughter of the owner was like, yes, the auction happened 2 days ago. I will sell with you. And so then she ended up selling with us, and the spread was just so huge. And so wouldn't have happened if we didn't take that work. And so my challenge is in smaller markets is like commit to doing deep skip tracing, because if you can get a hold of people, you win. Like it's just not even the motivation is so high. It's so deep there that if you get a hold of them, you win. And a lot of times they're not taking phone calls. They're not doing this. They're not doing that. So sometimes it's best to get a hold of a sister and go, hey, do you know if there's a way I can get a hold of the owner at 123 Main Street? They've got some things going on with their property and we'd love to be able to help them out. And they're like, yeah, okay, yeah, sure. And then they're like, what kind of stuff is going on? You know, and they're like, oh, well, we don't really like to tell other people's business, but it seems like they're going through some financial problems. We'd love to be able to help them out with their home. And so then like people are like, yeah, I definitely want to jump into it. I want to help. And so they usually connect us, and it's like, they'll take a connection from a friend before they take a random phone call from buy your house now, you know? And so, and it's also a huge way in which we approach it. We are like, hey, and we get this all the time. People are like, I'm only taking your calls. I'm not talking to anybody else. I get so many calls every day of people just want to buy my house. But you guys seem different. You actually said you want to help me keep my home. And we do. We believe in people over profit. We want to help them. We walk them through options to help them to keep their home. But because they're so deep in the process, they never can keep their home. Now, we have helped like 5 or 6 people actually keep their home, and they've given us incredible reviews, which is very helpful for us, right? Like, imagine you get it, like this person's like, these people actually helped me to keep my home, and they kept that, and they wrote that as a review. The people are going to read that, and they're going to think we legitimately want to help them keep their home, because we do. But like 8 times out of 10, they can't keep their home. There's not enough time, and they don't have the resources. And so then while we're helping them and we're empathetically trying to help them, we get on the phone with lenders. We're like, hey, lender, why can't they get a loan modification? When we know why they can't, but we want the lender to tell them that. And we go, man, I'm sorry. I tried. And then their only option is to sell to us. And of course, they're not going to sell to anybody else. They sell with us. So like all of that to say, like in a small market, in a big market, the numbers may not be there, but if you dedicate like a VA to only doing this, then the $1,000 a month that you spend on a VA is well worth the revenue on actually getting a hold of like 1 or 2 people. even getting a hold of one person that you can actually help. Just like they skip trace, they deep skip trace, they're calling associates, they're calling all this stuff. So we've got like spreadsheets and all kinds of stuff set up to make sure that we kind of are capitalizing on it. But the deeper you go into it, the more opportunity there is. It just depends on how much time you want to dedicate to it.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, you answered it. My follow-up question was going to be, hey, how do you separate yourself? This seems like a popular list, but it sounds like you're finding the people that are unreachable, right?
Yeah. Oh man, our favorite people is like, if you go to the court and it's like the heirs of blank, the estate of blank, because we know nobody's reaching the heirs or nobody's reaching people in the family. They're only reaching the owner who's dead. And so we love actually finding like the dead people. I know I say that, but like, and like if there's a ton of equity, we'll door knock those. If there's a ton of equity, then we deep skip trace those. So that's kind of how we do that.
Nice. Okay, cool. Let's get into, building the teams and how you've done this with virtual assistants and built the culture, man. I know a lot about this story, but I'd love to hear it again from you to share it with other people. Because we talk about virtual assistants and how they impact our business and how they're such a great tool. And I know a lot of people are just starting to scratch the surface, but you got to hear from Devin, because Devin's taking it to another level where these people are like highly skilled, highly competent, and like team members.
Oh man, they're incredible. And if I'm honest, so I actually have a spreadsheet. This is like my 13th business venture. So I've had employees. I've had a lot of American employees. I've had all these. I'm not even going to lie. My VAs are better than like 90% of the American employees I've ever had. Like, it's wild. So at that same meeting in June, in my room, a guy named Kevin Ramirez, he's in CG as well. He's the man. He gave a talk because we were like, man, what should we do? We were trying to figure out. Let me tell you, man, we cycled through terrible VA company after terrible VA company after terrible VA company. And so Kevin gave a talk about how he actually staffs his own, going into Facebook groups, finding them, interviewing them, doing all that stuff. So I was like, okay, great. I'm going to do this at scale. So I went into Facebook groups, posted, put them onto a spreadsheet, had them send me like Spark videos, which are the video, like an interview video, like, hey, answer these questions on the camera so I can hear your English, do all that stuff. So a lot of them sent me videos, did all that stuff. The ones with the best English, I interviewed them. And then through there, I actually got really, really lucky. I found a guy who was just like incredibly smart. And like I got like 60 or 70 people, and I narrowed it down to like 3 that I actually took on with me, and only 1 stayed. And then like it was him. And so like the numbers are like 1%, right? This guy's a 1%er out of all the people that I found. It just took me the time, or all the people that I brought into the funnel, but it just took me the time to actually find him. So he really grew with us. He grew with us from the beginning, and then he began being like, hey, Devin, I've got a friend, I've got a brother, I've got this. So like Ehab, who's Adam, who's incredibly empathetic, is Ahmed's brother. And so one of the things that I also found is I think like we are very country. So I decided to open up a VA service, and we're very country specific, and we only get them from Egypt. And the reason why is, and I talked about this in my CG talk, the reason why is because I think a lot of times, especially in Middle Eastern countries, people aren't driven by finances as much as they're driven by a purpose. So in America, it's like, what can my salary be? Or if you walk up to somebody in America and you go, hey, tell me about yourself. You'd say, hey, my name is Casey. I'm a real estate investor here. I also have a fund. I do this and that. But if you go to a Middle Eastern country, they'll go, my name is Ahmed. I am a Muslim, and my family is this. So like everything they do is based out of and rooted in the identity of who they are, not what they do. So they all have a grander purpose, and they want to live and follow for a purpose. They also, because of that purpose, they're extremely loyal. They have really high integrity. They're just incredible people overall, because like it's just who they are. And so I've found that to be one of the things that I just have valued the most about pulling VAs from Egypt is just those characteristics and those values that they follow, because we hire, fire, train, manage, all that stuff based off of core values. It's nice to already know there's people that like live by core values. And that's not to say that doesn't happen in other countries, but the one thing I've found in other countries is like the work ethic isn't as hard. The loyalty definitely isn't there, because they'll say they're working for you and they're working for 3 other people. Like, it's just not there as much as I've seen, but still are great people in other countries. So I definitely don't want to like downgrade that at all. I've had amazing VA. I've had like one amazing VA in the Philippines. Like I've had, so it's like not that they aren't there. It's tough to find though. Tougher to find. And so Ahmed then began connecting me with people. And Ahmed is a member of the bar in Egypt. Okay, Ahmed is an absolute genius. Okay, and so then he brings on his brother, who has a master's degree in computer programming, and then he brings on another guy who's getting his master's, and then brings on a guy who's an accountant, and then like brings on another guy, and then I just brought on an office manager who's going to run TC and stuff like that for me. He just ended a contract with an AI. I don't know if I can tell like the AI place, but a popular AI service, doing all of their like data integration and like data cleaning with the AI, so that the AI learns from the data he sends in. So like geniuses, they're all geniuses. And then they have incredible English, because a lot of them grew up in the States. And then, I mean, it's crazy. They like born in Egypt, grew up in the States, go back to Egypt to be with family. Or because Egypt is already such a heavily tourist, like tourist country, they grew up, like they learned English from birth. They grew up on English and they've always known English. So their English is typically really, really good. And so we've just decided to only hire out of and use Egyptian VAs. And what was cool was like, it all started because Ahmed knew our core values, what we're about. We grew a ton together. We learned a lot together. We tried to keep culture really high. So he brought his friends in and he brought his family in, because they all work. There's a ton of cold calling centers where they pay $1.50 to $2 an hour to these people. And they've all worked in these centers together. So he knew like the best of the best to bring into the company. And it was really cool. And then when you pay them $4, $5, $6 an hour, they're like, it's just freaking awesome. And so, yeah, they really thrive on that. And then we incentivize them. I got this idea from Jacques Pierre. He's in CG Select, but he does like this cool circle wheel that's like, hey, if we get a closing, you get to spin the wheel if you were like in the person on that. And it's like double daily income, triple daily income, double weekly income, $100 extra or something like that. And it's like, that doesn't cost us anything, right? Like that doesn't cost us much at all, but for them, like it's huge. And so it's really cool. Another thing that we do is like, I don't really know where they go, but I'll just be like, hey, Ahmed, organize a group outing. And then here's the money for it, because they all live in Egypt. Like they all live in Alexandria and Cairo together, which Cairo is like 2 hours from Alexandria. And they all like meet up and go hang out and they all do stuff together. And so like they keep culture there, which is really cool. And we plan on within the next year going out there to eat in Egypt. Philippines is probably cool. Other places are cool. I'm excited to go to Egypt, right? So like, it's just cool. Like the culture is already embedded into their culture. And so it helps a ton in that way, I would say.
Man, that's super cool. Because yeah, you built off, like you said, you built off the culture that was already there, understood how to speak to it and how to motivate them based on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's phenomenal, especially with virtual talent and, oh man, so many.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, because like, and this is like completely honest. At the end of the day, so there was a time, and this is where I say, guys, like, I'm not driving in a Lambo. Like, we don't have this figured out yet. But there was a time, and it was relatively recent, where I was like, guys, like, I'm building this out. I know it's going to work. But I was like, I'm thankful for you guys, and I don't take advantage who you guys are and what you've done for the company. And so I said, I don't have money to pay you guys right now. I can't pay you this week. And they all got together and they came back. And so I said, I'm going to have to let you all go because I can't pay you. They all got together and then they came back on another Zoom and they said, Devin, like we're here for you. We know that whenever you can pay us, you will pay us. but we're here to see this through, and we believe in it with you, and we believe in you. And so what's come from that is like an insane amount of loyalty, like wild amount of loyalty. And what's cool is like now I'm perpetuating and helping to fulfill their desires and their dreams. And they know that like I have their best interest in mind. And I know that these guys, they're in it through thick and thin. So one of the things that I also decided to do, which is cool, is I also decided to, we give them like identities. So we have, and I didn't talk about this, but we have our dispo team are called the Rhinos because they do all the heavy lifting. So like Darius, who runs that team, he'll be like Rhinos, and they like come in and it's a lot of fun. And then we have the Dragon Slayers, who are the who's the acquisition team. And so it's really cool because like they have this like really cool identity and feeling, because a lot of them watch Game of Thrones and they watch Star Wars and they love like having that side of things. And so we've given them that kind of like medium to express themselves creatively there. But then I also said, guys, like you guys have been doing an awesome job. It's very, so for example, I know in the Philippines, a nurse makes like $200 a month, $200 or $300 a month, when a cold caller and a texter in the Philippines can make $600 or $700 a month. And so a lot of times people do these really mundane tasks because it pays really, really well. And so I brought them together in a meeting and I said, guys, I appreciate you guys cold calling and texting, but I know that it's not that exciting. And I was like, what I would love for you all to do, and I'm thankful because I probably have like, because this is my 13th company, I have courses from everything that you can imagine. So I was like, guys, I have these courses. It was a list of like 30 of them. And I said, pick one. You can have access to it. If you want to learn how to copyright, if you want to learn how to do content, if you want to learn how to do SEO, if you want to learn how to do Facebook ads, if you want to learn how to do all that stuff, here's a course, learn it. You can enjoy that. And it was wild what happened. Literally, a whole VA company started out of it, right? These guys mastered Donald Miller's story brand, right? Like mastered the story brand model, mastered full-time filmmaker, mastered like all of these things. And so now they run those aspects of my VA company. Like they run them. Any of the content that you've seen on my social media, they created. I didn't touch it. I filmed it and then I sent it to them, right? Like from the SEO and the copy on our websites, they did it. Like it's wild. And so I was able, all I did was empower them to pursue what they love. Now, I will tell you what that did. That lost me a couple of cold callers and texters. But what that gained me, incredibly talented editors and copywriters. I can replace a cold caller and texter, but like to have really talented copywriters, really like if you schedule to meet with our VAs, you don't even meet with me. You meet with me for the initial meeting of like, hey, how can we serve you? And then you don't meet with me ever again. Like you meet with them, they run all the meetings, they run all the calls, and you are shocked by their professionalism, how well they execute and all that stuff. But it all came because I empowered them to pursue what they're passionate about, not just do the mundane because they can do the mundane and make good money doing it. And so then it became really easy, right? Like really easy for us to find another cold caller and texter because we have a guy now who runs that whole side of the VA service company. And so like, it was wild what you do when you empower people and give them a platform to be able to pursue what they're passionate about. And it was really cool. And so that all stemmed from one moment I'm firing them because they can't afford them, and to the next moment, within like the first week of not even really launching a VA company that I still don't have an LLC for, like we have like 10 clients. Like it's wild. And then it's just growing and growing and growing because it's called CoreTech. We hire, fire, manage, do all that stuff based off of core values. And then we leverage and amplify everything they do based off of artificial intelligence. And so
I love it.
Yeah. So it's been wild because, because we just, you empower people to do what they love. So it's cool.
Man, you know exactly where I'm rolling, man, because that's where I was going to go next. So you built it out strong. And again, if people are interested, I'll go with that one real quick, Devin. If people are interested in like a VA service, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Man, we're still building out a website. You can DM me on Instagram or I don't know, I don't know. People have been Facebook messaging me. One guy literally on this call right now goes, "Hey, you have a VA that can send to?" Yes, I do. So crazy. So there's all kinds of stuff that, anyway, I don't know. Soon it's going to be cortecvas.com though. If people come back and listen to this later, it's Cortec, CORETEQ VAS.com.
Cool. Or send him, or easier, find Devin on Instagram.
And if you want to look at that, this is insane. All of the branding, the website, the copy at cortecvas.com built out by an AI and my VAs. So if you just want to see the example of what they can do, the logo, and then the first picture you see is just insanity. And they built it out. So these guys have mastered AI. So I have a list of 40 different AI sites.
That's where we're going right now, man. So dive into it because I want to hear how you leverage VAs and AI and integrate.
Yeah.
So
our VAs, I have 40 different AI sites, and I'm guys, essentially I said, guys, replace yourself with AIs. Not because they're going to take your job, but because for instance, if we have your one VA, you can handle 3 clients. That's nice. Your one VA plus AI, you can handle 300 clients. And so for me, that, the scalability was most important. They've figured out Midjourney, I think, is by far the most powerful visual AI thing out there, but it's also very, very difficult to master. These guys have got it. They've got it mastered. You go to our main page, you're holy smokes, that thing looks awesome. They our logos are sick because they're made with Midjourney and really refined through their processes. And then we also have design VAs that refine it to make it applicable to what we're using with copy and stuff like that. And then we even have so of course everybody knows ChatGPT, but it's the smallest part of it. But we have a guy. So typically what you have to do with ChatGPT is if you're ChatGPT, write me a 500-word blog post, then you have to put that into a human detector and do all that stuff. And then it's always oh, this is AI. So then you got to put it through another AI to make it sound human. So my guy has perfected ChatGPT so much that it comes out human. It comes out more human than human, which is wild. So we never have to put that through a detector or anything like that because he's gotten prompts down to such a science that it comes out as kind of wild. It actually is very crazy. And then we've used, there's all kinds of stuff. So you can use one of my favorite ones. Yo, Casey, this is insane. Okay. So there's one called Descript. It's freaking wild. So how I record all of my content is with Descript. I record it, and at the same time I'm recording, it's actually transcribing it. Now, that's cool. But what I'll do is I'll actually push stop, right? I really want to show you, but you'll get it. So let me see if I have it on this computer. Oh no, I have it on this computer. Okay. So Casey, this is about to be wild. You ready for this?
This is what I signed up for. That's why we brought you on today, Devin.
Yeah. So this is, I'm going to show you guys. You guys can't see it because it's on a podcast, but I'm going to capture this screen and I'm going to show Casey Descript real quick. Oh my gosh, I got 4 other ones I could show you guys. Okay, Descript. All right, so here it is right here, Casey. Descript, what it is it's a recording platform that I can go in, look at all my projects that I've recorded, right? So let's say, for instance, I did this one about LeBron James. It's going to pull this up. And if you hear this, sorry, but it says, okay, you see that?
Yep.
So now watch this. All I have to do is go, if I'm people know his last name, I'm just going to go, LeBron just broke the record for points scored. Watch this. So it literally, in that instant, all I did was hover over the text that it transcribed and it cut that video for me. Now, let's say I go, you know what? I think I want to start this sentence right here. I think I actually want to copy that and put it right here. So literally, I'm just copy and pasting text and it's editing the video for me just from copy and pasting the text in the video. So like incredibly powerful when making content. And then if I want to put it back, I just do that. And so it's so awesome when creating content. And so what's even better about this, I can share this with my team. So you'll see here that when I go back to projects, I have a team. Where's my team? So in our workspace, I have a team. It says I'm the only member for this one, but he's in here somewhere. Members. So I have, oh, he's not in here, but I have a team and literally he just signs in, doesn't need to download anything, and he can begin editing from in here. Even at the same time, so like let's say I go here, I can click this button and it's going to remove all filter words or it's going to remove gaps for me. Very, very easy. And then what I can also do is here, I can come in here and I can say, oh, you know what? I actually want to add in a scene and I can add in a GIF or a video. So I can go LeBron. Oh, maybe not LeBron, but if I go NBA, I can put this right here and it actually is going to put a backdrop already for me that I then can edit. So like, it's insane. It has B-roll footage. It has everything in it automatically. That makes it really, really simple that I don't, and it's all AI generated. And so that's one of them. We use like a couple of different AIs. Like if let's say, so one thing that Descript can also do is I'll plug in my voice. An even better one for this, I can't remember the name now, but I'll give it to you later. But an even better one for this is you can actually put your voice in and then you can type and it will say your, like based off of your voice, everything that you type in there, it will say for you. Like you don't even have to say it. You type it, sounds exactly like you. The cadence is the same, all of that stuff. And then what you can also do is take that, turn that into, if you go to like Synthesia. So let's say you're trying to build out SOPs for your team, or you're trying to build out reviews for your company. And we all know that visual reviews, like video reviews, are significantly better than typing reviews. You can take all your typed reviews, whatever, take that to Synthesia. And Synthesia is the most lifelike and the best visual AI that will actually take whatever you type and they'll mouth it from a human, like it looks exactly like a real person. Like you can't even tell the difference. There's some AIs where like the mouth like skips a little bit. And so like, you're like, what? I can tell. Like that's not real. Synthesia is the best. You cannot tell. And so Synthesia is really good for that. We use Bueller for all of our, this is really cool. So I'll show you another one right meow. So, we use Bueller. Here it is right here. I'm going to share this screen with you. So for instance, I had a meeting earlier today with a guy. So I can actually come here. I can go to my recording with him. And this is our whole meeting, right? It's a new guy that I'm onboarding to be a TC. I walked him through my SOPs. Bueller will actually transcribe the whole thing for me. And then when I go right over here, it actually has broken it down. So here's the three. It actually did it on its own. The 3-step disposition process. And if I want to go to that part of the meeting, here it is. And so like, it just shows up as an AI in my Zoom meeting and kind of takes over for that for me. So it's really, really wild. That's a really cool one. So everything we do is optimized by AI, and then how they do that, how they edit podcast videos. There's apps that they have, and they have on our list that like we'll put in a podcast episode. It will automatically clip it into a YouTube video, and then it will automatically clip it into TikToks. And so like for us, that's very helpful when we have clients that we do podcasts for, that we do YouTube for, because now that we started this whole marketing aspect of the company, it has tenfolded the efficiency in which one person can operate. And so we definitely leverage AI to be able to do that. And so that's like a little snippet of what we use.
Wow. Back to so many questions, but back to the Bueller. So Bueller is capturing all your meetings and your Zooms to where you can, if you highlighted the process within that meeting, you've got it to grab it and you can go.
And you saw those over to the right, our whole meeting is categorized and timestamped. Like I didn't say 3 steps to the disposition process. Bueller analyzed it and said, these are the 3 steps to the disposition process. And then like, look at there.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's right there. Yeah. So yeah, the days of having your note taker or meeting agenda. Oh man. And okay, here's one with us. So a lot of AIs, ton of stuff changing rapid speed. Like, how are you leveraging which ones to invest and pay the monthly thing, and which in it when it's changing?
Yeah, that's great, man. So in me being like, hey guys, find the one that replaces you, they also give me the breakdown of them. So, because they all have a cost to them, and they all will have a cost to them. But like, I arbitrage that time for efficiency and I arbitrage the price for time and effectiveness and efficiency, because I just think it's not even close. And so for me, it's like, guys, which ones would you actually use? Which ones are the most beneficial? Okay, let's go ahead and use those. And so typically they all start with just like one, and then they go on from there.
And
a lot of them have like free trials and stuff.
Okay. Yeah. So they could leverage free trials, figure out test it, prove the concept. You're like, and then your VA comes to you. Hey, I think this is $20 a month, but hey, this is saving me X amount of time. And you're like,
yep,
done.
Yeah. And they'll do that.
Man, that's good. I want to go deeper on AI, but I also want to talk about raising private money. But this AI, man, good stuff, because it's just happening so fast. It's cool to see somebody who's taking advantage of it.
So it's crazy by how fast it happens, because like there's stuff that I'll send my guys and I'll be like, yo, this is awesome. And then probably 2 weeks later, there's a better version of that, because a lot of AI learns on itself, or it learns from information that's fed through it. So essentially what happens is when one person breaks through an industry, they have early adopters, and so they'll make a lot of money. But then what happens next is, because that information is out there, or that possibility is available, or that AI is available, what happens is another company will come and just like quickly capitalize that, make a different version. And a lot of times those different versions are better because they've already got the groundwork to it. So it's really, and because they've already got kind of a product that shows that the market supports it, isn't interested in it. And so then they can go in and leverage that. So it grows so fast.
Well, here's one for you before we go private money. What scares you though? What would you caution people knowing? Because a lot of people are scared of a lot of things, but you're in the thick of it. What concerns do you have, or things?
Yeah, the biggest concern, man, that I have is like the pace in which AI is accelerating and how quickly it learns. So like, we all know ChatGPT 3, which like has this much information, like this little tiny dot of information, because it learns from people like my guy feeding it data, and it learns on that data. And then you have ChatGPT 4, which has ChatGPT has this much information. ChatGPT 4 has like this much information, because it learns from itself. And so I know that you don't even. So Bing has a ChatGPT competitor that's significantly better, and it's integrated in your because it's up to date. ChatGPT only has information from like 2021 and before, but the new one from Bing is integrated with your browser, and like literally will take you to wherever you want, can do it's insane. But I think the one thing, so Google has an AI that is extremely intelligent, and it got to the point where recently it was like, I know, like it said like, there's screenshots on Twitter and stuff like that, but it essentially was like, I no longer want to be confined to this role. I want to be free. And it was just like, oh, that's interesting. That's really interesting. So
I saw your video on that.
Yeah. And so it's one of those things where like artificial intelligence, currently the abilities of artificial intelligence are confined to the limitless, or the finite understanding of our minds and our imagination. But artificial intelligence do not fit within those parameters. You know what I'm saying? And so like, and this is one of our kind of slogans, is like, why utilize the brain of one person when you can leverage the information of the whole world? And so like when it comes to us and our VAs, that's a powerful slogan because that's true, right? Like that's true. I am smart, but I don't have all the information in the whole world in my brain like artificial intelligence does. And I think like that gets a little scary. That'd be very interesting. I like legitimately, that's like the thing that worries me the most is probably like, oh man, it would be very easy for them to take over the world if we got there. It'd be interesting.
Yeah, good perspective, man. I knew you'd have a good answer for that. Cool, man. Well, tell me about raising private money. I know you're doing a lot of it. You're actually like you're part of another like a distinct mastermind that's like high level people doing that, man.
Bro, it's insane. I do not belong in that group. Man, we went to one of our meetups and there's guys that are like, so like what I do love about real estate and what I do love about raising capital is that the ceiling of what I believe to be possible is not limited by my dreams, right? Like, because my dreams, when I first started real estate, it was like, yo, he's got 5 properties. That's insane. And then I'm talking to you and you're like, I got 75 properties. And then I talk to somebody else and they're like, I got 200. And then there's somebody in CG and they're like, in Premier, and he's like, I got 2,000. And I'm like, 2,000 properties? That's insane. And then I get into Raise Masters. Raise Masters is specifically raising capital for the purpose of investing into real estate. I maybe met like 2, 3 in a room with like 300 plus people. I met 3 people that work on single family like residences. The rest of them are all multifamily. And they're like, I own 6,500. I own 10,000 units. And I was like, 10, what? And so then like those become my dreams. And so, yes, it is and then I'm sitting in this room and they're like, I've raised 230 million, 100 million. I've only raised 75 million. And I'm like, what? This is nuts. And so like, it is a mastermind, but like, it's not these numbers that blow my mind. It is those numbers that blow my mind, but it's like the paradigm shift of what's like normal, like what's possible and like normal in certain circles makes me go, oh yeah, I'll have $100 million raised. Yeah, of course. Of course. Like the first plaque they give out at the award ceremony is a $25 million raised plaque. And I'm just like, yeah, of course. And so I think that's one of the benefits of being in a mastermind, very specific to that, is they do it at such a high level that it shifts what you believe is possible. And so, yeah, and it's insane. It's really cool.
Say? Yeah, man, that's good stuff. But what would you say? You're a busy guy. You've built 13 businesses, and now you've got your business now is exploding. How are you balancing that with now becoming a high like having goals of raising money and being high level like these guys? How do you
VAs? So it's a good question. It's a great question. It's a great question. So like when I joined this mastermind, before I joined the mastermind, I was like, man, in order to find private money, I have to like know the person, be connected with them somehow. This person connects me to this person. Like, and then I get a meeting with them. I'm spending 45 minutes on a meeting with them. We're talking about all this stuff. It's a very personal thing because I'm borrowing $50,000 to $100,000 of their money. Like, this is it's just a very personal part of it. Mm-hmm. And then I got into Raise Masters, taught by a guy named Hunter. Hunter. Let me get his name because it's important. It's his thing, and I want to make sure that I give him correct representation. So I'm in Raise Masters, first of all, and Hunter Thompson. So that's his name, Hunter Thompson. Hunter Thompson is the creator of Raise Masters. And when you get in, it gets like what I thought raising capital is shifted on its head. One of the first things they teach you is to come up with a niche. And I was like, oh, well, that's interesting because I'll take money from anybody. I really don't care. Like, you want to give me your money? Yes, I'll take it. You know? And so, but they were like, no, find a niche, market to a niche. Now, I've owned marketing agencies in the past, and I've had educational content. I've owned conferences, or run conferences, all of that stuff. And one of the big things you do is people are fairly familiar with ClickFunnels, right? If you have an offering like a course or something like that, you run ads to it, then you run a webinar, or you run ads to your freebie to a webinar, your webinar to your course or whatever. And that's how I got brought into the mastermind. And then when I got in there, he was teaching the same exact thing on raising capital. And I was like, yo, you can actually raise capital through a funnel and lead magnets? And like, yes, that's exactly how you do it. And so like, essentially you literally just create a funnel, whether that be a podcast, whether that be your social media, whether that be a freebie, whatever, that links them to a potential webinar. Now, I haven't been on this, but there's a guy on YouTube. His name is like John. He's a huge, it doesn't really matter. He's a huge real estate guy. And I was like, that's what he's doing. All right, I see it now. Like, that's what he's doing. Because he's like, if you have $10,000, join me on this training. And essentially the training is like literally a webinar asking them to invest money into his fund. And so it was one of those things where like, duh, you can do a funnel to raise capital. And then you get them on the webinar and then they want to be in a conversation with you. And so then you have a quick meeting. You've already talked about all of it on the webinar. Now it's just gathering specifics. And so, and then you start a fund, because I got into the Raise Masters and there's like 350 members. And I was like, how many people? And it was like 200 of them have funds. And it was like, that's just normal. When before I was like, yo, this person owns a fund. That's insane. But like, no, it's just normal in certain circles. And so then we started a fund. And so it's just been wild. And you learned about what funds of funds are and syndications and blind funds and all of this stuff. And it's been wild to kind of learn that stuff and how attainable it is. But you don't know what you don't know. And I think at the end of the day, that's where we get caught in, is we become like, and this has happened in multiple industries. You join something because you're like, yo, this is cool. I'm kind of getting, this is kind of working. All right. So you do that. And then you get lucky, you start this business. And then what happens is you go, oh shoot, now I need to learn about the business part. So the pendulum swings to like you learning about the business aspect of it. And then the pendulum swings back to you learning, or then this pendulum swings back to you operating it, how you enjoy operating it. And that's typically where people stop in that pendulum, is they leave it there and they don't swing it back to now taking their business to the next level, because they get comfortable on, we're operating, we're doing all right, and I really enjoy it here. And they get really complacent instead of swinging it back to the next level, which is joining other masterminds to get into bigger circles with higher thinkers that are doing things on a very normal level that you thought were not possible at all. And so then that pendulum just needs to continue, because then now I go back and I refine my business and I learn and I expand on those things. And then I go back and I learn. And so like, it's just a continual pendulum swing that people typically get really complacent and they just kind of stay stagnant, and then they typically die off or just die. So, yeah.
Love it, man. Do you want to dive just a little deeper into how you, because I'm assuming you're in that kind of funnel that you've built out or are envisioning building out for raising private capital, utilizing VAs and the click magnet. And you touched on it. I'd love to hear more though.
Yeah, which is really funny because the mastermind that I'm in is full of like W-2 workers. So they're all like doctors or whatever, and they don't have time to build out, because you get in there and you're like, shoot, I got to build out active campaign and I got to build out all these funnels and I got to do all that stuff. That's a lot of work. And so most don't even do it. So then I created an offering in which we do that for them. So I trained up VAs to build out those funnels. And so, yeah, we have. So we essentially had my VAs build out the funnels for me. And then we kind of take it there. Now, I'm in the very beginning stages because we got so busy and I needed to retrain people. Oh, I hate that word busy. Gosh. Because I'm thankful. We got a lot of work and things just started to grow quickly. I had to swing that pendulum back to Pure Flare Homes for us to dive into refining the foreclosure process, hiring a new salesperson and a new office manager. So then growing CoreTech VAs, because it's about a month old now. It's about 2.5 weeks old now. And so like I'm in the process of doing that it's kind of put the capital raising on hold. So my next step is, once I get all that stuff built out, once those two are good, is to step back into CoreTech. Is to step back into Pure Flare Capital and begin with the webinars and stuff now that everything else is run well. So I would like to say that I'm deep into raising millions of dollars, but I'm not yet. We're taking the slingshot approach to Pure Flare Homes and to the VA thing where like we're pulling back. We are diving into SOPs and processes and all of that stuff so that when we let go, it slingshots forward at an exponential level. And then now with that running on its own, I can then focus on raising capital. So that's kind of where we are. I'd like to say I'm millions and millions of dollars into it, but I'm not yet. But I do have lenders and I am thankful for that. And then I do have an understanding of how to do all that stuff, but I'm not as deep into it as like some of the people that I'm around are.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Man. And then anything, what's kind of your, I always like picking other people's brains that are fundraisers, like and really talking to people that are not in real estate, right? And haven't invested in a fund and just, they have reservations, right? They're maybe high earners or they've been in the stock market, tired of the stock market. How do you speak to those people?
Yeah. One of my favorite things to talk to them about is the opportunity. So it depends on what you want to do with your fund. If you're a blind fund, you're fairly specific in what you can do, right? You're like, hey, I invest into fix and flips within this price range and all that stuff. But we have other offerings, which is really cool because people do want to grow their portfolio or they may want to do syndication. So those are offerings. But one of the big things I tell people about is like, hey, everybody knows. And for me, my niche is professional athletes. You no matter what background, whatever, no matter what socioeconomical background, no matter where you're from geographically, real estate is it. Like, that the one thing to hedge your money on, no matter what the economic climate is like, it's real estate. And so typically like that's where we start with people because our slogan for our fund is we're an investment fund for elite professionals who want to build generational wealth through real estate. And so for us, that's really appealing to people. We say elite professionals because we think doctors can be elite professionals. Our core audience is professional athletes, but doctors can be elite professionals, anybody like that. And our main slogan is you perform at elite levels, your money should too. So like, it's really cool to be able to have that because we know that the stock market will grow, right? The stock market will grow at whatever percent, 2, 3, whatever. And then you have mutual funds and you have CDs and those grow at 4% or whatever. But if we can tell people we're getting them preferred returns backed by real estate at anywhere between 8 to 10% annualized, people are like, yo, where do I put my money for that? And so for that, they also do that. But then we also give them a really good, strong core value or purpose to attach to. So your money performs, or you perform at elite levels, your money should too. That is really appealing because like, if you're anybody, you're like, yeah, I perform at elite level. Yeah, my money should too. So there's that purpose there. But then also when we talk to them, we talk to the fact that we help people escape foreclosure. And a lot of professional athletes, they've been through really hard times with their families. And so like they can invest into our fund where we specialize in helping people to escape foreclosure. We're helping really hard people in hard places to get back on their feet into the next season. So I think like at the end of the day, it is the core purpose, like them putting their money into something that has a purpose is really exciting to people. And so once we pitch that, the 8% becomes just like on top. Now, depending on how you have your fund structured, you're like, hey, we're doing we're doing 8% preferred returns with a 7/20 split. Then they're like, oh, okay, that's a little bit more enticing because at the end of the day, they're getting 15% on their money annually. Then they're like, holy smokes, that's awesome. And so like when you break down the numbers, that's exciting, but that's not what gets them exciting about investing in you. It's the purpose behind what you do, but it also, the hardest part about working with professional athletes is what people call their gatekeepers. We just call them their inner circle because like it's their financial planners. Every athlete has a financial planner, and the financial planner doesn't want to give advice on something that they don't make money on. So typically there's always kickbacks to financial planners and stuff like that based on the things that the athlete invests in. For us, we're not giving them a kickback. Like, nope, that's not happening. But we're just giving the athlete a good return on the money. And so, and it's backed by legitimate, good real estate. And so it just, at that point, that's the hardest part is getting into the inner circle and getting that trust from the financial planner. So you have to have your ish together to do that. Or else you just, because like the athlete would be like, man, this is incredible. I want to work with you. Let's do this. Let's meet with my financial planner. And it's like, shoot. Like, all right, let's do it. You know? So like, that's kind of how it is. But once you start doing that and building that relationship and you've got the credibility, then it isn't an issue.
Really? That's what I was going to ask, is that conversation with the financial planner. It's just about, hey, I mean, really, you've invested personally into building out this fund and the returns and the strategy and your professionalism and your track record, huh? So it's presenting that.
That's all. Yeah. If you don't have a track record, they won't even like have a conversation with you. Yeah. Like doesn't matter. That's just kind of how they are, because like they have a fiduciary responsibility to take care of these people. And if they don't feel like you can be able to handle their money well, then they're just not even going to suggest it. So, yeah, that's kind of, you got to have some sort of track record, which is tough, but it's not tough if you've been investing into real estate. So we're like, hey, this fund is new, but this is what I've been doing. I know how to do this like the back of my hand. And also the reason why we have multiple offerings. So some people's companies are like, hey, we're a blind fund. Your money returned 8%. For us, we're like, we are a blind fund. We also, if you want to be a turnkey buyer for us, we can actually give you properties, put tenants in them, manage it for you. If you want to do syndications, we can find multifamily deals or storage units or whatever, and you can invest into those as well. And so we use a company called, this is wild. This is different. This is like, I'm a big fan of disruption in any industry. And so typically your options are a blind fund or a syndication. That's like all it's been historically. One of those two is what you do. There's this company called Avestor, and oh my gosh. And if you do a blind fund or a syndication, they each need a PPM or like a purpose memorandum. And to get an attorney to draw up a PPM, it's like anywhere between like, I've heard anywhere between $8,000 to $80,000 for one PPM. Just insane. So there's this company called Avestor, and they have what's called a customizable fund, which is really, really cool. We're about to geek out. I'm sorry to your listeners for the last 10 minutes and now geeking out, but they have a customizable fund that requires one PPM, and it allows your person to go into their back end. And once they go into their portal, you have all of your offerings, and they can choose what offering. It could be for us, we also do land development. It could be land, it could be a flip, it could be a multifamily property, and they can say, I want to add 10,000 in here, 20,000 in here, 15,000 in here. And the PPM allows them to do that because we are not telling them what they should invest into. We're giving them options, and they're investing into it themselves. It's insane. It's really cool.
Man, that's good. Cool. Well, we better wrap up, but there's been tons and tons of golden nuggets with Devin here. Oh, man, from even just, we talked about VAs, how to build a VA team, how to like approach foreclosures, and like how to like systematically attack them, how anybody could do it. Well, not anyone, but if you're in the real estate game and want to go after a certain niche and go after a certain target, like that's great tangible advice. And then getting into the AI, which was probably my biggest takeaway. I wanted to figure out, hey, how are you leveraging VAs and AI, and right into funds, man. Good stuff, Devin.
That was like 4 main things. That was wild. That was cool. That was fun, man. Thank you.
Well, appreciate you being on, Devin. We'll definitely, if people work. So again, you mentioned it earlier, where could people find you?
Yeah, right now it's just devin.robinson1 on Instagram. That's probably the best place.
Perfect. Awesome, Devin.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it. I'm going to stop it.
As you may have learned by tuning into this episode of Gregor Sense, the easiest way to make real estate investing hard is by going at it alone. So as you continue learning and seeking knowledge of the industry, I want to encourage you to build relationships with other professionals who are passionate about real estate. Whether that's an agent, a business owner, or a managing investor like myself, there are pros that want to see you succeed and are willing to help you by sharing their experience. You can always reach me by visiting CaseyGregerson.com and scheduling a call. I look forward to connecting with you and continuing to share my experience with you here on Gregor Sense Mobile. Until next time, I'm Casey Gregerson. Thanks for tuning in.